Chapter 3 is about statistics, and one of the things with statistics, which are just like numbers, is you can do an experiment or do a survey and you want to display the results of your survey. You could put your data, you could just talk to somebody about it, or you could write a paragraph or two about your experiment. You could put it in a chart, or you could put it in another kind of a display like a bar graph, a line graph, or a circle graph. And we're going to look at those three types of displays. Actually, it's going to be double bar graph, double line graph, and circle graphs in the next slides. This is a picture or an example of a double line graph. Line graphs always show changes over time. So just keep that in mind. Changes over time, over a period of time. So the bottom of the double line graph, or even a single line graph, is going to be some unit of time, in this case months, January, February, March, April, May. Then there's typically some sort of number up here. And what this actually was, the title of this got cut off, was the amount of earnings that Barbara and Jack had in the month of January. So Jack in blue, you have to have some kind of a key show you what the blue line represents, some kind of a key to show you what the red line represents. So red is Barbara's salary in January. She had, you can kind of go up here and see there's the January results, and you go over to see what number. Jack was $1,000 and Barbara was $1,500. I really apologize for cutting off some important parts of this graph. You should see the title up here, and you should see over next to here, it should say salary in dollars, or US dollars, I think is what it said. But that's an example of a double line graph. Bar graphs show numerical information that can be split into categories. In this case, the categories are people, and they appear down here at the bottom of the graph. They're students. John is a category, Carla, Peter, Jetzer, and Darlene. And it's a double bar graph because it's comparing two things about John and Carla. How they did on a test, their score, and this does show the label over here. You have these numbers, and you have to know what they mean. These are test scores. And then the label here is students, and the title of the graph, scores on fractions test with and without preparation. So those three elements of a display: a title, label on the vertical axis, and a label on the horizontal axis. Those are all important. So without preparation, you can see John scored about a 75, and with preparation, he was up to a 90. Something about sort of a distinguishing feature of a bar graph is that if it's a double bar graph, there's no space between the two bars, but there's always a space between the bars in a bar graph. There's another display like a bar graph called a histogram. It'll look just like a bar graph, but the bars in the histogram will be touching each other. So that's a distinguishing feature of a bar graph. You got to see that space in there. So remember, title, label, spacing when you do your bar graphs. Circle graphs show parts of the whole thing. So suppose we had done a survey of pets that people own in the classroom. We counted all of the pets. If there were 100 pets altogether, then we would see from this display that 40% of the pets were dogs. And if there were 100 pets altogether, that would mean there were 40 dogs. 15% were hamsters. You see the color code there. Rabbits, 10%. The green would be birds, and cats, 25%. So the whole thing is the whole circle, and the parts are the shaded parts: dogs, hamsters, etc. There's a lot of math involved in doing a circle graph, and we'll probably do a project in class where we collect some data and do a circle graph, because then you get to use your calculators and your protractors, and it's a lot more work involved in it than just going to a to do it on the computer. You can go to a spreadsheet and put the data in. It's much easier than just click and show different ways. So, but there's then you miss out on all the fun math if you do it that way.